As well, because that's the recharging back. Okay. So make sure it doesn't hold that as well. Just hold that. So you didn't. It's on. That's Leon. Leon. Is it on? Can we first get rid of this little Armin Indian because he's going to be heckling all day and he's going to annoy me. So I'll get him out of the way. What we're going to talk about today is two issues. First, I want to address a guy called Muhammad, who's the Afghanistani guy, who constantly talks about me but has no guts to come to my face. I see so many videos of him like talking about me behind my back, but when I come here, he runs around like a little, what we call a chua, means little rat. And so we're going to address something which is about the Afghanistani Sikhs, because we're Sikhs, obviously he's a Sikh as well. And ISIS attacked the Sikhs in Afghanistan and killed 17 of the Sikh population.
It's so hot.
And we spoke about this 2 weeks ago, and for some reason the Muslims are butthurt because we're talking about an issue that is affecting the Sikhs. One of the things this guy said was that I cannot talk about Afghanistan because I've never been there. Well, you've never been Syria, and you've never been Palestine, and you've never been Burma, so you can't talk about it by your own logic. So I'm going to have next time when you come down, grow some balls and come up to me and talk to me. My bro here will be more polite. So this is Manny Sinder, and so he'll be more polite. Obviously I'll be a little bit more brutal because I've got history with the guy. What we will do is then we'll have a civilized discussion. If you can come up to us in a manly fashion and talk to us. What we're going to talk about today, this is our, I think this is third Sikh circle. We do have another Sikh in the audience, but he doesn't want to come on, so I'll big up my Sikh brother down there. He's recording for me. And what we're going to talk about is an issue that is affecting Sikhs. All different communities have problems. The Muslim community, we're always talking about their issues, about the grooming and the terrorism, but we have our own issues within the Sikh community, and one of the biggest issues that we have is about alcoholism. And Manny Sinder and me, I've never really spoken to you about this particular topic, so it'd be interesting to know what your views are. And if anyone else wants to kind of contribute, because this issue doesn't just affect Sikhs, but we'll contain it within Sikhs first, and then maybe like broaden it out if we need to. So what is your kind of take? Because I've not really spoken to you about what you think of the alcohol problem within the Sikhs. But we'd have to call it Punjabi Sikh, don't call it the Sikh.
Well, my father was a major. A lot of my cousins, their fathers were alcoholics as well.
Yeah.
I did a lot of research about a couple of years ago on what created it. And it all starts from my research, and I should say that my research is based on John Bowlby attachment theory. And those of you that don't know what that is, it's basically to create the ultimate adult. You have to go to the childhood and from before the childhood as a baby. So if you take Judy Rosenberg, who's a psychologist in America, her work, to create the ultimate child, you have to give them breast milk, you have to give them a lot of skin-to-skin contact, you need to give them a lot of eye-to-eye contact, and you need to feed their healthy narcissism. So what that means is when it cries, you have to pick the baby up. When it calls you to do something, you have to really attend to it. So if you do that for a baby, then the baby goes into childhood in a very healthy way. So obviously the child is going to be very similar to the baby, and the parents have to be very loving, very caring. And what that does is helps the child's mind develop to self-soothe. So when a child is self-soothing, when issues in life do come up, it's not going to go and start developing nasty habits. It's going to realise that they can condition themselves to sort it out internally. So let's take, for example, my father as an example. I don't like talking about other people's families because people don't really like that. If I talk about my own, no, my father passed away. So if I talk about my own family, then people can relate to it easily. So my grandmother is probably, this is going to sound...
Can I just preface one thing, because people are going to say our Sikhs, like, no, Sikhs are not allowed to drink or have any toxins. It's completely forbidden within the Sikh faith. We have a Punjabi culture which has unfortunately infiltrated our kind of way of life, which is very, very detrimental to alcoholism. So let's separate the two. The Sikh faith, I want to say so because people can understand, it completely prohibits any kind of intoxicants. Sorry, man.
That's all right. So my grandmother is probably the toughest woman I've ever met. She recently passed away. She was extremely tough and famous for it. Thank you. So there was no way that she was a mother that was goo gaga and picking my father up whenever he cried. It did not happen. Most Punjabi mothers, especially from India, don't tend to be that type of loving mothers. So I would class her as a narcissist. So as a consequence, if my father as a baby, as a child, would go to her with issues, there was no way he would have been given the loving, caring, tendership that he would have required. And on top of that, my grandfather was a military man. He was very educated, all the way on business, spent large parts of his life when my father was first born away in different countries, especially in Britain. So there you have the ingredients of a child growing up and not having the right type of environment. So my father and my mother got married here in Yorkshire when my father was very young, about 16, 17. And my mum, obviously my mum's from the same culture, she's very strong. So what you have there is my father's from a very strong, strict, I don't like to use the term unloving, but I would say very conservative family, and he's married to a woman who's very conservative. So when issues on life try to grow upon him, he naturally turned to alcohol as a soothing response. So that is basically a very summarised way of what I see and why alcoholics are formed.
Did you hear my discussion with Hussein? We were talking about grooming, but also when it was talking about alcoholism, Sikh Punjabi community. And I had a theory. Remember, it's a theory. It doesn't mean it's real. Obviously, I had an alcohol problem myself, and just to give you a bit of history, I started drinking when I was 21. I come from a very religious family, and so I didn't drink, but for some reason I got persuaded. My first 18 years were just with Muslims, and so I never drank. Their culture doesn't have any kind of drinking in it, really. And when I started hanging around with Sikhs, within 3 years, or Punjabi, I started drinking, and by the time I was 21, I was drinking a lot. And then obviously I went over to Sikh around 12, 13 years, and there's been times I've been beaten up when I was drunk, I've been mugged when I was drunk, and he died once when I was drunk. I fell asleep in a car park, I got hypothermia, so I was in hospital for 2 days. I stopped drinking 6 years ago, and the reason I stopped is because I realised that all the people that were gravitating towards me would ring up and go, hello bro, you're not down, this guy's been laughing, and I started realising all they wanted to do was drink. And so 6 years ago I stopped drinking, but the way I did it was it sounds quite bad, but I stopped hanging around with a lot of Punjabi because the culture was very, very, very against alcohol. And I'm quite because some people can drink and they can handle it, and some other people can't. Obviously within Sikhism, alcohol is completely prohibited, but for some reason it's permeated into the culture. One of the theories I said the other week was that I think because of you kind of touched upon this, I think the Punjabis in particular are very hard-working, hard-living people.
It's a release.
Yeah. So the Punjab, if you look at the Punjab, it's been that constant war for, God knows how long. For as long as you can remember, all the way from Alexander the Great, all the way up to today, it's on the border, so it is a constant battle. And my theory was that when the Punjabis as a people, because we are a very affluent community, we're a very strong community, and we work hard. This is why we have managed to kind of succeed without immigrants. But one of the downsides is that I used to see some of my relatives when they're having a hard day or a stressful day, they would sit down and have a drink. That was their release. Some other communities might do it in other ways, but I found the Sikhs, or the Punjabi Sikhs, used to use that as a way. And I was trying to explain that to saying that I'm not saying it's genetic. What I'm saying is if you have a very hard-working, hard-living community,
it becomes a source of soothing as well.
Yeah,
and if you've got problems in life and you get used into a pattern of using alcohol to soothe yourself or release, as we're talking about, then eventually those few occasions will become a habit, and before you know it, you're dependent.
But do you believe it's, because one of my theories is that when you look at the temperament of the Punjabis in general, even Hindus or Muslims, they seem to be much more
We're very angry people.
masculine kind of people, and much more kind of like don't want to talk about the problem. And one of the reasons I started doing that was because we like depression. And so obviously I'm not depressed now, but one of the ways I alleviated that was through drinking. And when I tried to talk to friends when I'd have a few drinks, what they would do is like, oh, bro, no, we don't talk about it.
Absolutely, no, because they do have those type of personality issues, then alcohol is more, how can I say, they feel it's advantageous. It's a quick release, quick fix. But yeah.
But why do you think it's alcohol? Like, everything they could be doing? Because obviously,
because majority of the time it's men that become alcoholic. So with women, generally speaking, they're more likely to go out shopping. They're more likely to do other things that perhaps males wouldn't
But did you
think
not
about.
see the BBC documentary a while ago, a little while ago, just around 6 months ago, and they actually had females in the Punjabi Sikh community that were alcoholics as well. Now the BBC's done a documentary around 6 months ago about the problem within the Punjabi Sikh community when it comes to alcoholism. And it was very embarrassing, I'm not going to lie, from a Sikh watching it and seeing it, I was like, alright, and you know when you go to a wedding, like one of the things that people always say, Sikhs know how to drink. And it's embarrassing because Sikhs are not supposed to drink. It's almost like, you know, people come up to me and it's embarrassing at the speaker's corner especially because, oh, I didn't know Sikhs aren't allowed to drink. And within our faith, it's completely prohibited. So, but we have such a bad reputation. We're good in a lot of other ways. The Sikh community is integrated well. We love the UK. You know, we're trying to play well. We're successful community, but we do have that downside where we have this problem with kind of like releasing our kind of emotions. And we use alcohol as a way to kind of do that.
My personal conclusion is that 90 to 95% of the time it's issues from childhood, that their brain wasn't developed because they did not really receive enough loving, tender care from the parents. Hence why they're tough people in the first place. Well, of course, there's other issues affecting different people that doesn't quite fit in that bracket.
Yeah, because I wouldn't say that my childhood I was quite mollycoddled.
Yeah, well, I'm from a different caste than you, and I'm really did my research.
We need to talk about caste as well, because that's completely.
I think that'd be a really good, really good
disaster. I mean, we can touch upon it, but it's so complicated.
But I was just going to say, because I'm from a Jack family, that Gugu Gaga type mothers do not exist as far as I'm concerned. I would probably say I probably met one woman from my caste that type of loving, where really a slap is nothing. It's like to them it's like that's affection, and the mothers in the Jack family are just as strong as the men. And God, the men.
Yeah, the thing is I'm just going to go slightly off topic, but I do believe a little bit of a slap once in a while. Like I'm not going to say whether I've been or not, but I think like when a kid misbehaves, one way to like sort them out is to give them a little bit of a smack once in a while. I know this can be controversial. I'm not talking about beating, but a little we call it a beard. It doesn't do no harm. But are you talking about for you it was much more severe than that? You think, or the people that you knew it was much more severe than just a little smack here and there? Yeah. So I think that's different. I believe it's kind of like.
See, I'm married to a woman from a Hindu family. And the difference between Hindu families and say Sikh, especially Jatt families, it's opposite spectrum. Yeah. They're so loving, they're so self-contained. Hitting a child is so alien.
Can I just say something? Not to criticize, but I think the word loving, people sometimes show love. I think what you mean, they're more extrovert in their love.
Absolutely.
So they show, because I do see with Hindus, they're much more placid, even in the park, like the Sikhs are quite, there's only one or two of them, they're quite in the places. There are a few Hindus, and they're not. And I think it's just maybe the nature of the religion as well, the faith. You know, for Sikhs, I mean, you know, I want people to understand like the history of the Sikhs is very brutal. And the Punjabis, especially, it's been invaded to get into India before the Brits come, doing the Brits come. I do like the But what
the Brits established.
But the Brits come from by sea underneath and went from the south upwards. Before you have to come through the Punjab to get into India.
No, I always distinguish between British people and the British establishment.
All right, yeah.
They're two very different things.
So no, I love the UK as well.
But my point was like, so you hardly ever come across alcoholics from the Hindu community. That was my point. And the main difference is the way they bring up their children in that very...
But I do know Hindu Punjabis are alcoholics.
Yeah, of course.
So I think the Punjabi culture...
And I know plenty of Gujarati, Hindu Gujarati alcoholics, but again, they're very rough and tumble with the way they show affection to their children and to each other. So there's a high concentration of narcissism in that community. But generally,
when you say narcissism...
There's two types of narcissism, the healthy and unhealthy. So you need a narcissistic, psychopathic type of personality to rate somebody, for example. So there's healthy narcissism. For example, if my wife comes up to me and says, "How do I look? Do I look nice?" That's just her needing the type of TLC that a woman would need. So there's healthy and unhealthy narcissism. But I'm not a psychologist, I'm no specialist, but I've researched on this and I apply it to everyday life and people that I know and it's true.
Right. So the thing is, like, what's your kind of solution though? Because obviously, I know in my own lifetime people that died from vomiting and they slept and they died on their own vomit. And I do know some, I've met people that are Sikh and I say this, oh, my father passed away. And I say, how did he pass away? I've heard a lot of people say through alcohol poisoning or liver poisoning. What's your kind of solution though, apart from what I did, which was to kind of detach myself and stop hanging around with a lot of Punjabi people?
That's not the solution. That's not the solution.
Yeah, I know it's
that's the solution for you.
For me, it was a good solution, but for others, it's obviously
so
not.
It's really fitting.
I think we need to educate ourselves, realise how personalities and habits and trauma is formed, and it all starts from childhood. So if we raise a healthy child by giving them unquestionable love, then they're going to grow, their brain's going to develop in such a way that when problems in life, no matter what they are, come upon them, and they will, they don't turn to release alcohol or shopping or smoking or any of these other poisons. What they will do is develop a healthy way, a healthy personality, so they become self-contained. So the solution, the only solution from what I see is to raise children in a loving way and teach them that when life does become difficult, because the way, especially in British society, is fun and alcohol and celebrating with glasses of champagne, that you're going to be pushed towards having a release, try not to go over the cliff and drink.
I do realise the next generation has, like my nephew doesn't drink, I know a lot of other people don't drink. I think people in my generation, who's a little bit older, maybe because we didn't have that attachment to our faith and stuff, I have a big problem with alcohol. I remember outside in Southall, you would have the temple, the Gurdwara, and straight across the road was a place called Glass Junction.
And they closed it down. What a famous club!
Yeah, no, but it was a disgrace because I used to see people go to the temple and then they'll go to the pub and get drunk. I saw it a lot, and I never went to the Gurdwara when I was drunk. I saw loads of people that used to go from there into there, and they used to have weddings, and I would see people go from there to there. So for me, it was a great establishment in terms of the pub, but it was a disgraceful location. And the fact that we have a pub which is renowned for Sikhs is like a bit embarrassing as well. Like for me, I think we're at a kind of a crossroads. That I think the Sikh community, like every community, like I've been saying to Muslims, every community has their own internal issues. With Sikhs, it's contained. With Muslims, I don't want to bash them, but theirs kind of spills over a little bit, a lot, over to other communities. So I don't know about you, bro. I mean, you don't need to say anything, but have you known people that have kind of passed or have had issues with? I'm talking to a Sikh bro here. Do you know people that have had issues with alcohol?
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyone passed away?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can see here, there's just one guy, one Sikh guy here, and through him he knows people.
Yeah.
Through me I know people. Through you probably know people.
That's 100%. There's another Sikh gentleman walking around here with a blue turban. I bet if we ask him, it'll be the same answer.
Yeah. And so, I mean, he's over there actually. Maybe we could get him. But the thing is that we do have an issue, and like I would like. What I'm going to say to just to kind of go slightly off topic. I did say on my video on Raj Speaker's Corner, subscribe. Manny Sinder, subscribe.
Thank you for that.
No Leon here, so we can keep on plugging. Raj Speaker's Corner, Manny Sinder. So the thing is that I said on my video that I've met a lot of Sikhs who say to me, "Oh Raj, we're going to come down to the park and we want to kind of like thing." And I said, "Yeah, fair enough, come down." This is slightly off topic, but I need to say it before they come back. And I said, "Look, people come down. But let's not talk about, I don't really want to talk about religion or theology in a debate style. If you want a conversation with me, we can take the camera in a quiet area and you can teach me about Sikhism. But I don't want to debate because I think it's pointless. Trying to debate the Abrahamic faith as a dharmic faith like Hindus or Sikhism is like talking to an alien. It's pointless. There's no point doing it. So what I do want to do is like, you know, hopefully the Sikh circle can kind of grow bigger. We've got Sikh here, so it is a circle, even though, you know, it looks like there's only two of us. And what we can do is start kind of broadening the topics. We can talk about Afghanistan, we can talk about India, we can talk about 1984. I don't really want to talk about 1984 at the moment. A lot of people say, why don't I talk about it? Because I think the topic is so important. We need more than just two voices, I think. We need a lot of time to speak about what's happening. We can explain to the audience, whoever's watching, what happened. So to my Sikh brothers, you're the ones that said they want to come down. Come down. You can come down and join us in the thing. You don't even need to be on camera. You can stand up and give your input. But I don't want to, me personally, this is up to me what we do. I will not talk about Sikhism or theology in a debate style. We can talk about it in an informal, in a more kind of controlled environment. So hopefully going forward, do that. If you do want to debate, it's up to you. But I will say the basics of Sikhism, who I've met, said that there's no point debating Sikhism. There's no. Bhaji Graj Singh said there's no point. Hassan, come in.
Hey, my boys.
Hassan, Louise, I got some news for you, man. We're talking about alcoholism.
Oh, it sounds nice.
Oh, sounds nice, is it?
Well, it sounds like a topic that's
it is
not
supposed to be quite somber, you know. We're talking about very serious things. It's not like we're talking about Christmas or anything. So have you got any input on the... can you go over this side, please?
I don't mind. To be honest with you, hold on.
No, don't look at him on that side. Why?
What I was going to say is, the thing about alcoholism is, it's about the company, I think, to be honest with you. Because a lot of people who go out and do a lot of drinking, a lot of drinking, not becoming alcoholic. There's some people that go in with a crowd, and it's like a roughneck organisation where people will drink sort of like
Do you drink now?
Yeah, well, I mean,
a lot of people think you're a crackhead.
No.
He's not a crackhead.
No, many years ago.
Do you drink? No. Oh, so you don't drink? He doesn't drink? No, you don't drink? So we're starting a new race here, 3 Sikhs here, and we don't drink. So if we can do it, we're talking about alcoholism.
This being contained
So 100% no drink.
So I'm going to repeat that. 100%. They think that Allah is from faith or in the faith or in the things.
So you're not like a...
I'm not asking you, are you like total teetotal?
I'm like this normally, teetotal for 6 years. Not a single bit of intoxicant. One thing I agree with Islam, no intoxicants.
That says to me that you're not going to drink for 6 months. So I'd be a little bit upset. There was no reason to drink for 6 years.
Yeah, but I've got my artwork, so all of the stuff I used to put in that.
He has his artwork there, but he was saying that the personalities that tend to drink have a lack of ability to soothe.
Yeah.
So first it's, I'll have a pint or I'll have a glass of wine to release and calm down, and then it becomes a habit.
Yeah.
And it comes down to, I would say it comes down to as in childhood, when your parents are not attending enough to, especially your primary caregiver, which is your mom.
Islam doesn't agree with that.
So they've passed that type
I thought we get a Muslim perspective. James, you come in as well. The white man. Token white man. Get the white man in. No white power left. Look at him.
We've got a token white guy here.
Does a woman want to come in?
You mind not asking me one thing though? When you were drinking, you find out that you're like, you know, you see different groups of people. You always sort of see your group of people as sort of like the ruffians, so to speak. Or they're like, no, like the one thing you were drinking, I don't want to label who's going to work, but when the ones that were drinking, you find out they were the ones that when they're drunk they have problems or they're drunk to kill them. See, our friends, we didn't have them. Like our friends were the ones that want to go out and have fun, and you know, like ease the confidence.
Yeah, but the thing is, one of the things we need to touch on is Like, I used to have depression, and so what I used to do was to get rid of depression. Now I use art. Like, I haven't got time to drink. Like, when I'm going for like God knows how many hours, all of my
Which is why the class system is going to be such a good conversation, because you'll find that many people from your caste are very good artists.
I didn't say what caste I am.
I don't know. I've guessed it.
You don't need to guess it
because you're an artist.
No, I'm not going to say it. One way to break the caste is to never say what caste you are. So
I see.
I know, but you can.
I see it as a positive.
Like I say, you can assume it, but I will never confirm it.
No, my point is, I see a caste system as a positive.
Oh, you do?
I don't see it as a class system. You see, if you look at it from a Brahmanistic, Hinduistic...
All right, let's go into the caste for a minute, because let's elaborate.
I'll give you a summary what I mean.
So, about the alcohol situation, I would like to talk again about it, but with more people. The verdict is...
We're all going to the
You Sikhs are all pissing.
The verdict is you look very white.
I look very pink.
He's burning. He's burning. He's got the pink. Give him some suntan. Oh, poor little James. No, all right, so sorry, do you mind? I'm just going to talk about one. What's the big word?
Okay, my summary is that I'm pro-class system.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why, and this is why I'm pro. I don't see it as a class system. The Brahmanistic, Hinduistic version of a caste system is that you class people. I don't see it as that. I see it as a genetic makeup. So I see it as your ancestors living through you. And you know, if your, for example, ancestors were very hands-on or they were very arty, then that's going to come through you. So if like me, for example, I've traced my ancestors back to 6 generations and they're all very political. So naturally I've got a very political mindset.
But do you, because the thing is, like, I'm assuming you're more of a culturist.
Yeah.
An assumption. So the thing is, if you're a culturist, I can understand why you wouldn't have an issue. But as somebody who believes in Sikhism, one of the things that was supposed to be kind of completely kind of taken out of the Sikh faith was the caste system. Now you may not see it as a hierarchy, but there are people that see it as a hierarchy.
That's their problem.
Yeah, but the thing is that as a culture, I can understand why you don't mind, but from a Sikh faith point of view, it is completely prohibited. The thing is, I'm shocked that, like, you know, I go to a Gurdwara, a temple, and it says Ram Gadiya, which is a caste. You go to another one, it says Singh Sabha, which is a caste. And so you're having something. It's like, you know, we know drinking is prohibited in Sikhism, but you don't allow drinking to a temple. It's prohibited. We should not be having temples run. And a lot of what you have to understand, a lot of the people that run the temple, you may be able to go there as a separate caste, but the people that run it are from that particular caste.
Yeah.
You know that.
Once you do away with caste, you're also doing away with individuality. Because you're collectivizing people. You're saying there's nothing special about you, you're going to stand under that banner, full stop, no argument. See, I'm pro-individuality. I don't see people as, you all got to stand behind this line. You can stand wherever you want as far as I'm concerned. You're all great human beings. And this is what I don't understand about the caste system, is being taught to us or made to feel as if it's a class. It's not a class.
Well, let's clarify one thing first, because the caste system that we're talking about with the Sikh Punjabi culture, remember, it's not part of Sikhism, so please Sikhs don't start moaning and whining in the comments, because I know it's not. You know what, they go crazy in there saying, I don't know what I'm talking about. But you have the Hindu caste system, which, you know, obviously our ancestors were Hindus at some point.
I disagree with that, but that's another great conversation.
Oh, you don't think our ancestors were Hindus?
Yeah.
The Punjabi definitely.
All right. So majority of a lot of the people that were from the Indian subcontinent, a lot of them may have been and obviously the caste system we are talking about there is much more rigid, and it literally has life consequences. So you know, if you was to born into the high caste, it doesn't matter what happens. You are in that caste. If you're born as a Dalit, right at the bottom. Remember, they're not at the bottom, but they believe they are. They put them in that bracket.
Yeah.
You cannot move upwards. And although within the Sikh Punjabi I don't want to say faith, but our culture, we have this, is not as what I call detrimental. It's not as Hindufied. It's more of a culture thing. You're a judge, you're a thingy. But if you go to India, there are Gurdwara temples I've seen where if you're from the so-called, I'm going to say so-called low caste of a Dalit, you have to use a different, separate area.
Can I just answer what you said there? You see, Hinduism comes from a previous religion called Brahmanism.
Yeah.
And it was called Brahmanism because the priest class, which were the Brahmins, came from the Balkans and settled in India and created a system, a class system, which like the pharaohs, they run the whole
So you believe in the Indian invasion? Or the Asian, Aryan invasion.
See, I don't like the word
We're
Aryan.
going a little bit off topic, but it is important to do with the
I
past.
don't like the word Aryan because that comes up in three different parts of the world with separate meanings.
Yeah, but we do know that the word Aryan just means noble person. It was Hitler and the Nazis that took that word. So we should still be able to use it. The same with the swastika. It's just a good luck symbol. Just because someone's used it for bad, it doesn't mean we can never use it again. We need to reclaim these words. The word Aryan wasn't what Hitler kind of described it to. So it's used for thousands of years. So we should
First
have to
appeared in Sanskrit in my research,
Yeah.
and it meant above religion.
I thought it meant noble person. It could mean the same thing. Yeah.
You can take both ways.
So you don't mind, like, you go to a Gurdwara and it's run mainly, when I say Gurdwara, I mean temple is run mainly by one particular caste.
I think they're expressing their individuality. If they were going to succeed in taking away that individuality from those that follow Sikhism, it would have happened already. It's happened in Islam, more or less. They haven't been able to do it in Sikhism.
Well, no, I still know a lot of Muslims that still classify themselves as a particular caste. Normally Jats, no offense to Jats, but Jats seem to be a much more proud of the Jat label than other things. So whenever I hear about caste, no offense, it's normally from a Jat. They normally be, I'm a Jat. Even if you hear the songs, the Punjabi songs, is Jat in there. And I think this is one of the things, like, I truly believe that it's a detriment, it's a real damaging effect to the Punjabi Sikhs having that particular caste.
One of the problems is that people don't know, and Jats get a bit upset, is that we're an ethnic group. So we're classified as an ethnic group. So that's not going to be recognized. So the Jats were in India or that part of Asia, way before even Sikhism.
Yeah, I know.
Hence why some of them go more to Islam, some of them go to So that's that recognition.
But don't you see how something may not be real, but the way it's implemented, it can be harmful. So an example is, being proud of being a particular ethnic race is not bad in itself. But when you then think you're better than the other one, there's a problem. And I see a lot of Jats and even people that are Ramgiri and stuff, they believe they're higher. And I've seen it with my own eyes. I used to have a lot of friends that were from what's called a Parkara caste. And they had their own temple here in Bo. And that temple is like literally a separate temple from the rest of them. And I've been there quite a few times, and I'm like, where are all the rest of it? It's only from that particular caste. Yep. And I know for a fact they feel like they're a separate caste, and they feel like they're kind of seen as lower. I know a lot of people that are from that particular caste. I never really like to talk about it, because I'd say if you're Sikh, you're a Sikh. But they used to make it pretty obvious to me that a lot of people like the Ramgariya and the Jat class would not like that temple, so they wouldn't do a wedding there per se. Yeah. Well, you don't see that's a problem. It's a house of God, so you won't do a wedding at that temple because it's a particular caste.
No, I completely agree, but going back to my initial point, I'm a very proud Jat, but I don't see the caste system as a class system. So when I say I'm standing next to you saying I'm a Jat, I'm not looking at you saying I'm better or worse than you, or to him or anybody else. I'm just saying that's my genetic makeup. So genetically, like I'm quite short for a Jat, I'm 5'8", but genetically we're very strong, and I'm kind of proud of that. But then again, I know you're physically very strong, but at the same time, not saying that there's any difference to that. So that's what
Yeah, but-
people need to stop feeling that anybody that's proud of their caste is actually saying that they're better or worse than them, because it's not the case.
Yeah, I'm going to take it back to the principles of, like, obviously I'm not real, so if I say anything wrong, please give me a little bit of leeway. But from my understanding, that one of the main kind of things that the group found problematic was the caste. And so I can understand from you from a cultural perspective, because you see yourself as a cultural Punjabi Sikh. Whereas because we come from a different angle, because I believe in Sikhism, I believe one of the biggest kind of problems that we have within a culture and a Punjabi Sikh culture is this stupid caste system. And I don't want to say too much about my own family, but I've seen it even in my own family. Religious people that say crazy things like, oh, this person, we can't marry them, we can't marry them from that caste. And like I said, I know people from the so-called lower caste
It is
who
still
do
there.
feel like people from the so-called higher caste do look down upon them. So you may be a sensible individual that can handle that, what I call kind of like that kind of responsibility. But there are loads of people that I've met that are very arrogant with their caste and go, we're a Jatt or we're this, and will look down upon us. I'm not saying you should never be proud of your Jatt thing, but it's incompatible with Sikhism. It may be compatible with culture of Punjab, but it's incompatible with the Sikhs, in my opinion, in terms of as a faith. So this is where we kind of separate. As a culture, if you want to, okay, but if you want to be Sikh, and you want to be Sikh and you believe in Sikhism, believing in the caste, in my opinion, goes against Sikhism. I mean, do you agree with that? I mean, I just want a third person's take. So this is a fellow Sikh here, so I just want to kind of get his point, because remember, we are all on different, although we're all Sikhs and we're all brothers, we are all on different kind of levels. He's more of a cultural Sikh, which is why I like, we can have a good discourse. I'm in the middle, and you're probably in the middle as well, and then we may have somebody else that's going to be very religious. And so hopefully we'll get more people in that can kind of like give us that third point, which is the religious point. I mean, obviously, another thing I just want to say, Bhai Jigraj Singh passed away on the 20th.
I didn't know, he's the gentleman that used to come.
Here, so I just want to say respect to Bhai Jigraj Singh's basics of Sikhi, and he actually came, his anniversary, his anniversary was actually on the 20th. I think that's about it that we're going to talk about today. But what we'll do, we will touch upon the caste a bit more. Let's get more people down here, and next time hopefully we'll have 2 or 3 and a few more different variant voices. We will talk about alcoholism again because we touched upon it, but I do think we need other points of view as well. And like I said, please, Sikh brothers, come down. Speakers Corner is an amazing place, as long as you know that it's a place that is not for discussing Sikhism in a debate, but for having a discourse about real life problems, I personally believe.
And it's a nice day out, it's a lovely park here.
It's a nice day out. And not everyone's as crazy as me and the other guys. There's not a sensible people like these guys as well. So, Manny Sinder's like the voice of reason, man, and a few other people. So anyway, man, big up. And like I said, to Mr. Afghan, grow some balls, come to me and let's have a chat. You're supposed to be from Afghanistan, but it seems like, you've lost your Mujahideen gene and you're walking around like what I call a chua. So anyway, big up, let's go. That's it, man. Thanks a lot. Yeah. Thanks a lot, man. I was really